Market optimism rebounds in May as US-China relations thaw and the massive tariff standoff is paused. The S&P 500 continued to rally off April, up over 6% with investors regaining confidence as tariff fears fade. Like the last several months, May again was all about tariffs. We exited April with the US and China in a stalemate on their massive tariffs, effectively a trade embargo. Early May, White House officials began softening rhetoric towards China and practically begged China to hold talks. The effort culminated with an agreement mid-month where massive tariffs were paused on both sides for 90 days for negotiations. Meanwhile, EU talks briefly stalled with the White House threatening to double the reciprocal tariffs to 50%. However, just a few days later, the White House walked back the threat with both sides re-engaging on negotiations. We also saw the UK announce a deal to essentially promise to buy more for little less tariffs, but we already had a surplus with them anyways. So as we head into June, there's little doubt that it'll be all about tariffs again. We're in the final month of the everyone but China 90-day delay. And again, only the UK, who already had a surplus, has reached any semblance of an agreement. So will deals be made, or will there be another delay, or will the tariffs get reimposed? Meanwhile, negotiations with China have stalled, and we could see China digging in their heels again. We could also see the White House reinstate the massive tariffs early to pressure China, which could trigger another shutdown in trade again. And finally, courts have thrown a curveball into the equation with potential for the entire reciprocal tariffs policy to be declared outside the executive branch's authority and struck down. However, investors appear to be desensitized to tariff news at this point. What stubbed the taco trade, markets seem to be shrugging off any aggressive tariff news with the expectation that someone will cave, in particular the White House. This sentiment has allowed markets to continue to rally despite the never-ending tariff news rollercoaster. We're also cautiously optimistic that there could be a White House limit to the tariff madness. However, we're continuing to monitor economic data for a better read than the volatile day-to-day tariff drama. Consumer confidence appears to have rebounded in May, but that was before the US and China began bickering again towards the end of the month. In addition, earnings outlooks, particularly for consumer-facing businesses, were pretty poor. But did they throw in the kitchen sink, or was it a foreboding warning? Regardless, we think the longer this uncertainty continues, the harder it will be for consumers and businesses to remain resilient.